My parents, Ben Diaz and Teresita Bora Ada, founded Ada's Mortuary more than 50 years ago. They built a legacy of service, compassion, and respect. As one of 10 children, I watched them care for families during the hardest moments of their lives. They taught us that the people we served were never just customers. They were grieving families who needed someone to listen, care, and help them through one of life's hardest moments. My father carried those values into public service as a senator. He taught me that whether you are helping one family or serving an entire island, leadership begins with compassion. Those lessons have guided my life and public service. If I'm given the privilege to serve as your governor, they will continue to guide every decision I make. I humbly ask for your vote. I'm Tony Ada, and I approve this message.
Hafaday, I'm TERLAJE. You know me, I'm your senator, former speaker, businesswoman, lawyer, educator, and I'm a mother. I've spent my working life fighting for truth and justice for the people of Guam, and as your governor, I will continue to fight for your families and deliver a government that Guam can trust.
Hafaday, I'm Sabina Perez, familia Gozo and Cabeza. I've utilized my diverse background as a medical technologist, diabetes researcher, community organizer, and Simon Sanchez teacher to craft data-driven solutions to long-standing issues. As your Lieutenant Governor, I intend to advance the beautification of our island and to not return federal funds that support our families. We are running to deliver urgent relief to families who are struggling on Guam from the high cost of living and to improve the quality of life.
We assure you that your interests, not special interests, will be prioritized, that corruption will be replaced with honesty, true transparency, and a willingness to listen to our community.
Please vote TERLAJE Perez for Governor, Lieutenant Governor of Guam.
A vote for us is a vote for Guam.
I am TERLAJE.
And I'm Sabina Perez, and we approve this message.
I think there might be a misunderstanding of, by some, of the type of reaction that I would have this morning, the type of reaction that Kandit would have this morning, and mainly due to, I guess, my past, how I've conducted myself years ago, maybe some animus that people might have. But I want to say first and foremost that I really feel bad for the supporters of the Josh and Tina campaign, the Blas Okada campaign, and the San Agustin San Nicolas campaigns. And I think there might be a misconception that some might expect me to gloat about or boast about the loss experienced by the Josh and Tina campaign. Let me separate what is important from what should not be part of the discussion, right? What's important to me is a message against corruption, is that the voters send a message against corruption. And I think that that's very clearly, that was what was important to voters, very clearly, right? What's not important to me and what should not be part of the discussion is putting down people, especially when they're down. And I think that there's a bigger message here, right? And it is for anyone who felt the need because of their job, their family has a job, or they had a contract or something, or whatever that was, whatever that transaction was that led to the threat to the continuation of our democracy here on Guam, to citizen government, to the rule of law in this island. That no longer exists, my friends. You are free now. That's such a powerful thing. And because I've been on the losing side before, I know how much it hurts to, be in a campaign, and then on election night, the results start coming in and it doesn't look good, right? You don't want to face the world the next day. You don't even want to face your family. You don't even want to hear from your family, hey, I'm sorry. And, it's Sunday right now, and some people might not even want to go to church because they don't want to face people. And that's the last thing. Like, none of us should be gloating. None of us should be, putting anything in anybody's face, because we should all be wanting the corruption to end. We should all be wanting all of these people to be embraced, and to embrace this with us. And here's the fact of the matter, my friends. Anyone who has been involved in politics understands this with a big degree, with a significant degree, is that those voters, those supporters, they are now free to be with their conscience and to vote with their conscience and to not be beholden to anybody. And what's important about this moment is because this is the moment, this week, starting from last night or from early this morning, going on through the remainder of this week, maybe the next 2 weeks, is when some people will start to try to cut deals. And anyone who's been involved in a gubernatorial campaign, whether it's on the winning side or the losing side, knows this. There are people in positions of high power. Normally they're in the business world. Sometimes they're in the political world, who try to arrange the deals. If you are a supporter of a candidate who did not prevail, I implore you to realize the power that you have in your newfound freedom to be able to make decisions for yourself and to not accept somebody else making a deal for you about your future. You are now free. You've been unshackled. You get to make the decisions about your future. And so that's how I wanted to start this off. Because if I was, and I thought about it, right? If I was on the side that that did not prevail, the very first thing I would want is to not hear anything that either feeds into sympathy for me or where people will gloat. So this is, what I'm trying to do is to empathize with you and to help you through your pain, through your grief, understanding how hard you worked, for whatever reason it is, to help you see through that and see that the greatest gift you've been given since last night by the voters is freedom, political freedom. And at some point, my dear friends, through that pain, you are going to realize that. And if you do not accept someone else making a deal for you in the political realm, you are going to be so emboldened within days of this. The pain is going to go away. I promise you. Now, I'm also, the other thing that I am feeling is grateful. And let me explain. I'm grateful for yesterday. I have been working nonstop because of the typhoon and then election coverage since July 3. On July 3, I had a break because Johnny Rosario and Bernadette Stern and Vanessa Navarro, my best friends, they forced me to have a break to have dinner for my birthday, which was on July 4. And it was on July 3 because they knew that a typhoon was coming and I couldn't, I had to work on July 4. And so the last time that I had any break was July 3. Yesterday, my friends, not only was it the very first election since 1994 that I was not involved in a gubernatorial election, my very first time, not like I was with no campaign. I woke up at 4:30 in the morning. I went to mass at 6 at Our Lady of Lourdes. I went to get pandesal at Joanne's Bakery. At right before 7 a.m., I was at D.L. Perez Elementary to go vote. There were lines, and I thought, oh wow, there's a line. This is a better turnout than before. I voted. And I felt good about voting. I was asked to do the exit poll. First time in my life I'd ever been asked to do the exit poll. And then I went home and I took a nap because I was very tired. And then woke up, got ready, and I went to watch Spider-Man with my boyfriend. Like, we had a date. And it was wonderful. And then I went home and bombarded with different messages about the election, and I ignored some, I answered some, I went out and I did some yard work. And then I went back in, I showered, 8 o'clock came, people were messaging me, is the exit poll out? I was like, I don't know, I'm not sure. and then then the exit poll came out and I was floored. And I'll tell you, my friends, it was the first time in a long time, because Ron McNinch has never been wrong about an exit poll. And so I knew when I saw the exit polls, I knew what the results were going to be. For the first time in a long time, I felt really good about Guam and the future and what the voters did to how the voters participated in God's call, because so many people have been praying for years and years and years. Please, God, help our island. Stop this corruption. Stop this theft from our people. Give us honest leaders. And when I saw the exit poll, I thought, God, I thought so many of our people, we yielded to God's working through us for our island. And I'm so tired because we didn't have election coverage, and I did that on purpose. I didn't want to stay up late because today's Sunday, and I have to serve at church, and that's number one priority. So I wasn't going to stay up. I was like, I don't want to be tired when I go to church, but this is what happened, right? So I go to sleep maybe like 9:30 or something like that, and I'm having a great rest. Feels wonderful. Then because I'm old, I have to wake up to pee at 1:30 in the morning. And my phone is just going, it's on vibrate, but it's going off. It's off, right? It just keeps going. And I use the restroom. I come back, I look at my phone. And I get all the messages. We won. And it wasn't not all of the precincts had been in yet, but it was already, I think, the second batch or something. And I looked at the results real quick. I saw them. I saw the numbers. I saw how many precincts had come in. And I was like, oh, it's over. It's over, right? And Terlaje Perez won. Ada Calvo won. There was no, the math just wasn't going to, yeah. So I knew, right? I tried to go back to sleep. And I managed to get some sleep. It wasn't any deep sleep, so I'm tired right now. but I'm grateful. I'm grateful to the voters. If I'm being completely honest with you, I didn't think the voters would answer the call, and for that I am sorry. To the people of Guam for having those doubts. But I'm just glad that so many people answered God's call to do what needed to be done to answer the prayers of our people that are longstanding. And so today, what I want to talk about is my take on how Therese Terlaje and Tony Ada won the election. It's one. I want to talk about the second part of the show, how for the first time ever, corruption was the number one issue in an election for governor, and how it was amplified. The issue was amplified by parents of children with special needs, And then the third and last thing I want to talk about is how the election was a reckoning for the transactional and a demand that there be no more deals, and that the winner of the general election is going to be the team that can demonstrate that they are not the transactional and that they are the anti-corruption, anti-cronyism team. Because whoever does not heed the message from voters last night, that's the team that's going to have a sad day at the other side of the general election in November. And we will get to that. We will get to these conversations on the other side of this commercial break. Stick with us.
Over the course of this campaign, I've learned that the people of Guam don't expect their leaders to be perfect. They expect them to be honest, accountable, and above all, keep their word to the people they serve. Those are the values that have guided my leadership and embodied the Republican Party I want to help lead. I believe good leadership starts with getting the basics right. That means respecting taxpayer dollars, making responsible decisions, and holding ourselves accountable. When our government delivers the right way, we build stronger families, grow successful businesses, and create a brighter future for Guam. Because that's the kind of government you deserve, and that's the commitment the ADA Calvo team makes to you and your family. We will say what we mean, do what we say, and always keep our word to the people of Guam. I humbly ask for your vote. I'm Tony Ada, and I approve this message.
Half a day. You all know me. I've been your senator, former speaker, businesswoman, lawyer, educator, and I am a mother. And I've spent my working life fighting for truth and justice for the people of Guam. As your governor, I will continue to fight for your families, and I will deliver a government that you can trust. This is a critical time for Guam, and we need change now. Our families are struggling and cannot wait. Please vote for us this election to bring that change that Guam needs. I'm Therese Terlaje.
And I'm Sabina Perez, and we approve this message.
Good Morning Show with Troy Torres is brought to you by 76 Circle K Guam.
Welcome back to the show. It's 8:43 a.m. on Sunday, August 2, 2026. And the most important message that I have for you today, more important than anything, than who is going to be governor or anything like that, is today's Sunday, my dear friends. It's the first day of the week. I implore you, go to Mass today. Please. It's the most important thing that you can do in life. Go to Mass. If you want a schedule of where, like, the closest church to you, wherever you want to go, and the time, put it in the comments. I will answer those questions first and foremost. My name is Troy Torres. Thank you so much for joining me. This first third of the show, what I want to talk about is the victory by Therese Terlaje and by Tony Ada and the dynamics at play here. So Therese Terlaje, most of the voters, and by the way, it was a higher voter turnout, significantly higher voter turnout than in the primary election of 2022, when only 32% of the electorate turned out to vote. In this election, nearly 40% of the electorate turned out to vote in the primary election. I mean, it's sad that it wasn't more, but you know, it's fine, right? But let me look at the. I'm trying to remember who sent me the. Let me look. I have the results there. Let me read out the results. More than 13,000 people voted in the Democratic primary, and I think it's like 9,000 or something like that who voted in the Republican primary. And in the Democratic primary, Josan Augustine and Dwayne St. Nicholas received more than 1,000 votes, and let's see, is this the one? There it is. They received more than 1,000 votes. Sorry, I'm looking for the correct. Here we go. Okay. Sorry, I'm just looking for the correct results here. That's not. I know someone sent me the Anyway, you know what? I'm not even gonna just bear with me as I'm not gonna give you the exact numbers because I cannot find. I have so many different messages that I can't find exactly where I should have downloaded it earlier. Anyway, so Josh Tenorio and Tina Mooney Barnes were number 2, and they had something like 5,700 votes or something like that. And Therese Terlaje and Sabina Perez had more than 6,000 votes. There was a vote difference of 460 votes. On the Republican side, the variance was even higher. I believe Tony Ada won, with EJ Calvo won 2/3 of the votes, or nearly 2/3 of the votes on the Republican side. And tonight, by the way, on our show, we're going to have Dr. Ron McNinch to explain, and he's, whatever I say as my my analysis of things, in one year, out the other, take it with a grain of salt, or dwell on it, or prognosticate on your own. But whatever Ron McNinch says is probably going to be far more accurate than whatever I say, right? But this is what I think. In my, granted, I haven't been involved in a political campaign with any sort of emphasis in a long time, but what my understanding of politics tells me is that, and we're going to talk about the referendum on corruption in the next segment, but what I think happened on top of the whole corruption thing is that there were a lot of early votes that came in, 5,000, and a whole lot of those early votes were for Josh Tenorio and Tina Munoz Barnes. And a conversation needs to happen in our island about redoing that process, or reconsidering how we allow early votes. Because, I mean, things change, right? Things can happen. You need more time to learn about your candidates. And we saw that very clearly, because while this was a referendum on corruption, you have to remember, folks, if I'm not mistaken, and we'll see in the final tally, the final reports, but if I'm not mistaken, the Josh and Tina campaign had like $800,000, and they might have spent $800,000. They were advertising everywhere. They had signs everywhere. They had all the pocket meetings. That takes a lot of food. They were the incumbents. They had at their disposal, and this is, we're Kandit, believe me, our look into corruption transcends elections. So if anybody thought that we were going to stop talking about the corruption issue or the issue with the children with special needs just because the election has come and gone and they lost, you are sadly mistaken. These will continue even more, because we believe that now more people will be less afraid to speak with us about what the truth really is, right? So, but you had the hiring that was happening, the hiring spree that was happening over the past few months. You had the pay raises. I mean, everything, every ingredient needed to win an election, the Josh and Tina campaign had that. And despite that, the campaign that had like 7 signs, they had more than that, but I like to joke that the Terlaje Perez campaign was going to win the election with only 7 signs. Hardly spent any money, did not have a traditional campaign base, did not have, Therese Terlaje said it in the interview that she had with us, right? They're not beholden to anyone. And if anybody understands gubernatorial politics, or even sometimes congressional politics, how you have always the rule to win ever since the election of Carlos Camacho in 1970, the rule to win is whoever built up the largest village organization and the most organized won the election, especially the primary election. And that was true all the way up to the last election in 2022. And I thought it would be true in this election too, because nobody had ever been able to defeat that corrupt system of transactionalism. No one. No candidate in the history of our island has ever been able, even in the age of social media, to defeat the politics of transactionalism, where in order for you to be governor, you have to build a village organization that says to each and every person who comes into that village organization, if you do this for me, I will do something for you. We are going to take care of you. And that has been for every winning Democrat or Republican candidate for governor. Without question, without doubt. Therese Terlaje's victory in the primary election has told us, has signaled to us that the age of political transactionalism is over. That era is gone. Number two, that you can, as long as people trust you, as long as you are authentic, you can actually win a primary election for governor on social media. Because where else has Therese Terlaje been? She has only campaigned on social media, and she has only been visible as a senator on social media. She did not have a village organization. She did not have the money to purchase all of the commercials she was outspent by everybody else. And she is the highest vote getter among the governor candidates in the primary election. Therese Terlaje has broken the mold. She has, and like, this is a ceiling that she has broken. And elections from here on out will be very different because of her, because of what she was able to prove today. She is a pioneer in this. On the Republican side, what's interesting is that both Ada Calvo and Blas Okada also did not have big village organizations. They also did not have a ground game like the Josh and Tina campaign had. The age of ground game, my friends, that's over. Don't even waste your time anymore. And I think it has something to do with people being fed up. People are, for the past couple of days, one of the biggest complaints I was getting from people was in Derrida. And they were complaining that they got flyers dropped off at their house. And they were complaining like things like, why are they wasting paper? How dare they come to my house? I didn't invite them. Those days, my friends, they're over. They're over now. And so on the Republican side, the election was commercials. It was an air game. It was social media as well. And both sides had it. The interesting thing is, and I've never seen this happen before, is that Blas Okada clearly had the momentum going into the election. They were supposed to win going into the election because they had the momentum. They also out-commercialed Ada Calvo. So I'm trying to figure out like what happened, right? And the only thing, or that I think there's a couple of things, right? I think in the days prior to the election, one of the things I was hearing from Republicans, longtime Republicans, spurred on by what the issue with the rally, with the remarks against children with special needs. And these are Republicans who most of whom were not going to vote for Ada Calvo. They're not beholden to it's not like they have not transacted with either camp. It's just they preferred Blas Okada over Ada Calvo. Some of them would never vote for Ada Calvo, right? For whatever reason, okay? But they would have voted for Blas Okada, but because of what happened at the rally, and I know this because they told me this, and these are longtime Republicans who've never voted Democrat. They told me that they were going to vote on the Democrat side in order to get the incumbent out of office. I think a bunch of Republicans did that. And so if people are looking at the results on both sides and thinking one thing or another, I don't think you can do that. I think that that people played around in this election. And what I mean is, those Republicans who went over to vote for Therese Terlaje might be going back home to vote for Ada Calvo. Also, I don't think it's like set in stone that the Democrats who voted for Josh and Tina or for St. Augustine and St. Nicholas are necessarily going to vote for Therese Terlaje. At least not all of them. Maybe some of them. Some of them won't vote at all. Some of them will go and vote for Ada Calvo. This election is kind of up in the air, right? You cannot look at those numbers and think, okay, those are the set numbers. But anyway, on the Republican side, I think a whole bunch of people who would have voted for Blas Okada, and it's because, and they went over to the Democrat side because, and they're not going to feel bad about it either, because it's not like, for them, it wasn't a politics of personality. It's not like they were in love with Frank Blas or Mary Okada. And on the Ada Calvo side, you have, their supporters are far more in love with Tony Ada and EJ Calvo. So they would have never, done that. They wanted to stay home. They wanted to make sure Ada Calvo won. And so that's a very loyal base that they have there. This is my understanding. These are my thoughts on what happened in the election. But truly, both of these teams have rewritten the rules of the primary election, because it's I think a whole lot of people in politics thought whoever had the bigger ground game was going to win in both parties. And that didn't happen. This campaign was won on social media. But there are dynamics beyond that in play. And the very first one I want to talk about is corruption. And we will get to that on the other side of the commercial break. We'll talk about how for the first time ever, corruption was the biggest issue of the election. We'll get to that on the other side of the commercial break. A short break. Stick with us. Can I tell you guys something else? You know what else I noticed? Everyone who advertised with us won on the gubernatorial side and made it big on the senatorial side. Just an observation. I'm just putting it out there. If you're in any of the campaigns, I highly encourage you to advertise with Kandit News. What do they call that? A shameless plug? Hey, we got to live here. But I also tell you, and I won't say which, but there was last week I was approached by one of the political campaigns, and they asked for our rate card, and they said that they wanted to advertise, and I used some choice words and that I won't repeat, but I said, sorry, I don't want your dirty money. This election, every election, right? Almost every election, the number one issue is education. At least that's what people say. But we really know that the actual number one issue is just that people are ashamed to say that what's more important than education to them is their pocketbook. It's normally the pocketbook that is the number one issue. This election was very different, my friends. This is the very first time that corruption was the number one issue. And I was trying to remember in 2002, because I remember corruption was a very big issue in 2002. But pocketbook was still the bigger issue because of the devastation from Chataan and Pongsona. And, I'm sorry, at the time it was the devastation from Chataan. And a whole lot of people still didn't have water. And when the water was turned on, that's when we had the Hanum Talkie, and people were pissed at the government. And there were some people who still didn't have power. People remember not having power for a long time after Chataan. The prices were expensive. The tourists weren't coming. I mean, it was bad, right? The economic situation was bad. And so I would look at the election of 2002 as still an election that was about pocketbook, was about affordability, was about the cost of living and the economy and all that, right? And which was coupled with corruption. But this election, my friends, 100%, 100% this election was about and is about corruption. And it was amplified. Amplified, as in, had it not been for this issue, the issue of corruption might have been very important to voters, but they might have stayed home because they would have felt that there was nothing that they could do about it. And so the incumbent might still have won had it not been for an MC at the Josh and Tina campaign making a joke at the expense of children with special needs and outraging this island. And in my estimation, it was that one event that sparked so many people who were already tired with the corruption to say, F this. I'm going to vote on Saturday. Because I'll tell you this, my friends, before last week, I have never heard, ever, so many people know the date of the primary election. And it was on people's lips. I'm going to vote on August 1. I'm going to vote on Saturday. I wasn't going to vote, but I'm going to vote on August 1. And I thought in my head, I have never known people outside of the political campaigns to know the date of the primary election. People, independent voters, they'll know the date of the general election, not the primary, which is a major cause of low voter turnout in the primary election. We went from 32% turnout 4 years ago to 40% turnout this year. And I'll bet you it's going to get even more in the next primary election 4 years from now. Because people, I think, are waking up to the fact that their voices do count and can make a difference. And the fact that Therese Terlaje won by 460 votes tells voters, my vote makes a difference. And what makes things so empowering, I think, for voters, myself as a citizen, as a voter, is that we became a voice for the voiceless. We became a voice for people whose voices have been muzzled. And from that voice, we were able to scream out loud on election day, no more corruption. And let me tell you this, my friends, all right? The winner of the general election is going to be the team that is anti-corruption, that is seen as authentically and loudly anti-corruption, seen as honest, as trustworthy, and I'm not entirely sure how much the record will have to do with this. I'm guessing, I haven't thought this through completely, but I'm guessing record will have something to do with it. And you look at the gubernatorial candidates, right? You look at Therese Terlaje and Tony Ada, and I would say that if you did a poll right now, they would both poll very high in trustworthiness. Now it's going to be about what they say. What they say, what they do, how their supporters engage with each other and with the public, how campaign surrogates handle things, what they say in debates. And I think people are tired of these like canned responses from candidates. And so they'll see through that too. Authenticity will be a big thing as well, because it is a note toward whether someone is true, someone is honest, which is, of course, the umbrella over the whole, like, we're done with corruption. This, my friends, this election, it was a referendum against corruption. And here at Kandit, I cannot tell you how happy that makes us. Because for the past 8 years, this has been our thing. And it has felt like no one's listening. Like this is not getting anywhere. And then people found their voice. All along, we've been fed up with it. We've been done with it. And people found their voice. And look at the difference that was made. I'll tell you this, my friends. I can sleep tonight comfortably. And for the next 4 years, I can sleep comfortably, knowing that that era is gone. And what I'm hoping, what I'm praying for, is that neither of the prevailing gubernatorial teams attempts to bring that era back or to resuscitate that era by making a deal. And that's what I want to talk about on the other side of the commercial break. Caution and warning against any gubernatorial team that attempts to make a deal after we just sent all of the teams a very strong message. We'll talk about that on the other side of the commercial break. Stick with us.
You asked, we delivered. Guam AutoSpot is extending our overstock sell-off with the hottest deals on island, like our 2025 GMC Canyon with $4,000 off. Or slide into a brand new Mitsubishi Eclipse Cross, starting at just $24,995. September is your chance to drive big and save even bigger. Visit us today or get pre-approved online at guamaautospot.com or call 478-AUTO. Guam AutoSpot, where the savings never stop.
The stuff's hitting the spot. Welcome back to the show. It is now 9:08 a.m. on Sunday, August 2, 2026, an historic day in our island. The voters have defeated transactionalism, have sent a message, a very clear message, a very strong voice. We're fed up with corruption. We're fed up with cronyism. We are done with the days when, in order to win an election, all you had to do was transact with the voters. That's done. All the transactions were done with the hundreds of millions of dollars of public funds, with the nearly $1 million in campaign monies, and it didn't work. The voters said, go away. And here is the beware to the two prevailing gubernatorial teams. Do not attempt to bring that back. Do not, under any circumstances, even attempt, because we'll find out. Not only, we're not stupid. We're going to see it in the stickers that are placed next to other stickers, in the signs that go up where other signs were. We're going to see it in the words that are spoken on the session floor and how they're either words of wisdom and truth and righteousness or words that excuse the corruption. We're going to see it. We're going to see, even if we're not in the room with you, whether you cut a deal. I would beware. Both political campaigns, beware. Do not cut any deals. Not only would that poison your victory in the primary election and ensure that you do not win the general election because the people are not stupid and they have woken up and they have made corruption the top priority. Getting rid of corruption, the top priority. Not only will you sully your victory and ensure your defeat in the general election, you would have diminished the freedom that has been won. Even if they don't feel it right now or realize it right now, the freedom that has been won by so many who have felt they've been forced to transact with the incumbent administration, transact their vote for their livelihood, whether it's because of their employment or their contract, do not be the reason that these people are shackled back up again. Because many of these people, and I know some of them do not deserve to be in public service. I get it. They should go. They need to go. They need to go find a job in the private sector, right? Or they're not the best contractors. They need to yield to who the best contractors are and all that stuff. I get that, right? And those people are always going to try to transact. But for the rest of them, these guys can make it on their own merit, and they should. And they could be making even more money if they just were competing on their own merit on a fair and level playing field. So gubernatorial candidates do not transact. That age is done. You won because the people thought that you were not about that. If the people even suspect that you are going into that, and I'm telling you, the signs are very simple to see. It doesn't have to be a fly on the wall in the room where the transaction happened. It's going to be very simple to see. Whether your signs start going up near a vanquished candidate's sign, is a particular one. Whether the stickers start coming together, whether you put your slogans together. These little things will tell us whether you made a deal. And we're done with that. We're not only done with the antics of this administration, we are done with the politics of transactions. It's just so clear. And I know it's going to be very tempting because you're going to have political advisors who are telling you that you have to cut these deals if you're going to win. If you want to win, you have to do this, you have to do that. Their advice is dead, my friends. Gone are those days. They do not know what they're talking about. Not one bit. Don't believe me? Then proceed at your peril. The voters are watching, and we're not stupid. And I'm so happy and grateful for the voters today. May we all embrace as one community. May we all help our brothers and sisters who are grieving right now because of their loss to understand their freedom and how we want them to thrive too on a level playing field. We want their hard work to mean something as well, because we all want a Guam that's happening right now. We want this day to continue forward and to progress. For Kandit News, I'm Troy Torres. I hope you all have the beautiful day that I'm having. I hope you have a blessed day. Most importantly, I hope you go to Mass to thank the Lord for this day, to ask Him to reconcile us with those who need forgiveness and from whom we need their forgiveness, to keep us from temptations, to deliver us from evil, and above all, to always do His will. God bless you all. I love you all. God bless Guam.
Hafaday, I'm TERLAJE. You know me, I'm your senator, former speaker, businesswoman, lawyer, educator, and I'm a mother. I've spent my working life fighting for truth and justice for the people of Guam, and as your governor, I will continue to fight for your families and deliver a government that Guam can trust.
Hafaday, I'm Sabina Perez, familia Gozo and Cabeza. I've utilized my diverse background as a medical technologist, diabetes researcher, community organizer, and Simon Sanchez teacher to craft data-driven solutions to long-standing issues. As your Lieutenant Governor, I intend to advance the beautiful beautification of our island and to not return federal funds that support our families. We are running to deliver urgent relief to families who are struggling on Guam from the high cost of living and to improve the quality of life.
We assure you that your interests, not special interests, will be prioritized, that corruption will be replaced with honesty, true transparency, and a willingness to listen to our community.
Please vote TERLAJE Perez for Governor, Lieutenant Governor of Guam.
A vote for us is a vote for Guam.
I am TERLAJE.
And I'm Sabina Perez, and we approve this message.
My parents, Ben Diaz and Teresita Bora Ada, founded Ada's Mortuary more than 50 years ago. They built a legacy of service, compassion, and respect. As one of 10 children, I watched them care for families during the hardest moments of their lives. They taught us that the people we served were never just customers. They were grieving families who needed someone to listen, care, and help them through one of life's hardest moments. My father carried those values into public service as a senator. He taught me that whether you are helping one family or serving an entire island, leadership begins with compassion. Those lessons have guided my life and public service. If I'm given the privilege to serve as your governor, they will continue to guide every decision I make. I humbly ask for your vote. I'm Tony Ada, and I approve this message.